So I do want to thank you all and thank the sponsors for making this event possible. I am a Rutgers graduate and an alum, so it's great to have the kickoff here at the place that I went to school. Thanks again to Navicor, to Rutgers Federal Credit Union, to Barb for making this happen. So let's get right to it. The road to financial wellness. It's a 15,000-mile, 50 pit stop tour. Last year, we were successful in completing 10,218 miles, zigzagging across the country. We had 37 events across 38 different states, attended by over 8,000 people. So if you can get a handful of people interested in financial education, that's great. When you get hundreds of people interested in talking about financial wellness, then we're on to something. And that's why we're here today for Road Trip 2.0. So we're setting off on June 7th, starting in my hometown of Elizabeth, New Jersey. And we'll be kicking off the road trip there and setting off on this 15,000-mile journey where we plan to have 50 pit stops across the nation. As you can see from this map, it's a big zigzag. Thanks to algorithms that allow us to figure out the best route to all the major cities around the country. So knowledge is power. Financial knowledge is life-changing, and that is really key to the message that we bring out on the road to financial wellness, that knowledge does improve our circumstances, but financial knowledge changes the way we live, and that does provide some big impact. Why financial education? Financial education because we learn the area of a triangle, but not the value of a dollar. We can calculate the circumference of a circle. Now, I'm not sure how many of you can actually calculate the circumference of a circle, but we don't know about the power of compounding interest. So it is important for us to understand the power of financial education in improving our lives and achieving our personal and financial goals. But also, money is a taboo subject. We learn our financial habits through our family, through our friends, as well as our coworkers. But I've also seen around the social media as well as around the country that we are breaking the taboo on money. We're asking questions. I mean, I'll see on Facebook that people are talking about, I'm filing for bankruptcy, or I need to pay off my student loans. What should I do? So we're actively and more openly talking about personal finance through these social media channels. And it's important for us, and the goal of the Road to Financial Wellness is to break the social taboo about money and empower a generation to make better financial decisions, to live their dream lifestyle through financial knowledge. And the best way to do that is, again, to break open this taboo, to talk about it openly, because we do learn from each other. We learn through each other's stories. And also, there's tremendous amounts of information. And with tremendous amounts of information, there's a lot of confusion that arise. Where do you go for your personal finance information? Where's that go-to source? Google? So you're not alone. 7 in 10 people go to Google that find answers to their personal finance questions. And the results that they find are search engine optimized links, advertisements. So not necessarily the information that's relevant and reliable. And so this is the info that we went out to figure out last year, and the feedback that we received. And again, one of our key focus points for this year's road trip. Now, I want to give you a bit of history about myself, and I wonder if I could walk around. It's.
Yeah, well, you can try, so people can hear.
Is that Mike?
You are Mike.
Oh, I am Mike. Can you hear me?
That's right, you are Mike.
Okay. Okay, so I want to talk about my relationship with money, the twists and turns. I grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey, so the 4th largest city. I lived in 7 different homes before I graduated high school. By the time I graduated college, I had over $40,000 of student loan and credit card debt. So everything was stacked against me in terms of achieving my career goals, my financial goals, my life goals. But one of the most interesting things that I realized is that going around the country, many people had similar stories. I remember the first time I had a conversation about money with my family, with my parents. It was during high school. I was graduating, And their first talk about money was, we can't afford to send you to school. And so that was the first introduction with money, with finances that I had with my parents. So I delayed attending Rutgers College that fall in order for me to work. So I started working full-time to save enough money to go to school the following year. When I got my first paycheck, I was extremely excited. But again, I wasn't comfortable talking to my parents about money. So what did I do? I ran to the nearest bank across the corner, around the corner, and I opened up a checking account. But I didn't know how to use a checking account. I thought to be an adult, I had to have a checking account, a debit card that I can use. Well, guess what do you think happened with that checking account, with that debit card? I paid more in non-sufficient fund fees than I ever had in my savings account. Again, because I didn't understand how to use the products and services that were offered to me. My first relationship with a credit card right here on campus was a bank representative handing out Frisbees. And I said to myself, wow, this is really interesting. I want to play this Frisbee with my friends. So all he said was sign on the dotted line, which I did, and then I got my Frisbee to enjoy. Well, also 2 weeks later, guess what arrived in the mail? A credit card. And what do you think happened with that credit card? A $500 limit credit card I started using. I was able to make the minimum monthly payments each pay period. But by the time I graduated Rutgers, I had over $5,000 of credit card debt. And for the life of me, I cannot recall what I paid or what I used that credit card for. What I do remember is that Frisbee. And that's what I call my $5,000 Frisbee. So a lot of these stories are not unique to me. It's not unique to many others. Many people have experienced this. But it's through sharing stories that we're able to make positive impact in terms of the financial decisions that we make. So eventually, I got the opportunity to become VP of Marketing and Business Development for a credit union out in Silicon Valley. So I moved from New Jersey, flew out to Silicon Valley, and I helped grow this organization from 65 million to 110 million by refocusing our efforts into financial education. During the height of the Great Recession in 2009, I kept saying people are struggling. We need to focus on basic personal finance, budgeting, credit reports, credit scores, and not about retirement, because people cannot think about retirement or their investments if they're struggling day to day. If they're trying to figure out, how do I pay my mortgage, my rent, my kids are about to go to school. So if they're thinking about those situations, there's no way that they're able to think about their retirement. And because of that, we experienced massive growth with the focus on basic personal finance. And with that said, with the growth of our organization from 65 to 110 million in 3.5 years, I was offered the opportunity to be the successor CEO of my organization. But I'm a millennial, and I was trying to figure out, is this the path I want to take? Is this the trajectory of the career that I'm going to commit to? I loved the work I was doing, I loved the people I was working with, but I wasn't necessarily sure if that's where I wanted to continue. I wanted something far greater than what I was currently doing. And so instead of taking that successor CEO route, I did the complete opposite. I resigned instead. It took me 6 months to finally leave the doors because they kept providing me better offers, better reasons to stay. But that decision led me to backpacking around the world in 2012. I went through 20 countries in 12 months. Southeast Asia, Central America, Western Europe. I was having conversations with people telling me, you're so lucky, you're American. The land of opportunity, the streets are paved with gold. But I knew the realities back home. I knew that people were struggling. They're struggling to make ends meet. It didn't matter if you were making $100,000 a year or $50,000 a year. I'm a prime example of making 6 figures and still living paycheck to paycheck. But it was access to the right information, access to the right products and services and tools that enabled me to make better financial decisions so I can say no to a bigger, high-paying position and backpack around the world for an entire year. And so it's important for us to note that. And when I came back, I was armed with a mission to empower my generation to empower my communities to live their dream lifestyle. And I knew that related to financial education, that related to financial literacy, that related to us understanding how personal finance can impact the quality of our life. And that's the message that we go around the world. And we don't have to wait for retirement age to live our dream lifestyle. Many of us think about retirement at the age of 70. But there are opportunities when we use the right resources. Again, we connect with the right individuals. We can live a retirement lifestyle and how you define what retirement is. So it's important for us to understand that. That's part of our mindset. We all see things differently. I remember when I went backpacking around the world, I was here in Borobudur, Indonesia, staring at these temples, these bells in this temple. And I said, wow, this is amazing. I could be here forever. And then that silence, that peace was interrupted when a couple of other backpackers said, wow, it's the same thing over and over and over again. When is this going to end? And so that's when I realized that we're having the same experience, but we're not necessarily taking it the same way. And if you don't like what you're seeing or how you're seeing your life, that's your perspective. And then you have the power to change it. So the secret to financial well-being is gaining clarity of our values, envisioning your dream lifestyle, and financial planning. There's a lot of stress about choosing the right financial goals, setting the right financial goals, but we leave out the importance of what is the type of life we want to live. How do we envision our dream lifestyle? What are our values? Because we tend to set a lot of financial goals to values to things that don't align with what matters most to us. And that's why budgets do not work. That's why people go to seminars and literacy workshops and say, yes, I'm empowered to make financial decisions, but then 30, 60 days later, guess what happens? They've forgotten all that information because they don't know how to relate it to increasing their well-being, increasing their happiness and their overall satisfaction. So what is financial wellness? I define financial wellness, it's about your health and your wealth. It's about the quality of your life. It's not just the size of your bank account. Money is important, but it's important for us to understand how money impacts our quality of life, not by the things we purchase, but the life that we're truly living. And it's about your life goals and not just financial goals. So in the road to financial wellness, when you're setting financial goals, you have to determine how does this relate to the life that I'm living today and the life that I want to live tomorrow? How does that improve the overall quality of my living situation? So know where you're starting. Extremely important. And know where you're headed. It's about awareness. I talk a lot about a process I developed called ACT. Awareness, creating a plan, and taking control. The first step is awareness. You must understand where you're starting. Where are you financially? Have you identified the lifestyle you want to live? Have you identified the things you want to own, the things you want to experience? And then craft the plan in order to make that happen. It requires the right information, as I mentioned, and the right set of tools and planning. Again, it's about having a life plan and not just setting financial goals. It's not just about a financial plan. It's about understanding how all these aspects of what I'm talking about, know where you're starting, know where you're headed, know the right tools and services to craft that ideal lifestyle that you want to live sooner rather than later. So financial goals, there's a lot of confusion. When I go around the country, there's a lot of confusion in terms of what are financial goals. When I sit down or I talk to someone, they'll ask, okay, well, I want to own a home. I want to own a new car. I want to travel around the world. But then when I have deeper conversations, when I start asking why, I'll realize that what the financial goals that they're setting do not align with what they truly value. When I was back in my position as a senior executive, everyone kept telling me, Jason, you're in your 20s, it's time for you to own a home. You've reached a really high career. The next step is to buy a home. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe this is it. I need to lock myself down with a mortgage. But that scared me. And then I said to myself, well, what is it that I really want? What is it that I really want to experience? And that all aligned to traveling around the world. So instead of setting a financial goal that would lock me in, tie me in, I did the complete opposite. Again, that's part of the awareness, understanding what you truly value and what you're looking for. A lifestyle is the way in which you live. I hear people say, I have a luxurious lifestyle. I live in a fancy house, a big house. I drive a luxury car. I wear brand name clothes. My life is all about luxury. But at the end of the day, what are they doing when they explain their daily habits? They're working 24/7. So they don't have a luxury lifestyle. They have a work-centric lifestyle. Again, that's part of the awareness, understanding the things that we purchase, the things that we buy and consume can definitely take us away from what we truly want. How are you living? Taking a moment to understand how you're currently living today, increasing your awareness and asking yourself, why do I need this big house? Why am I driving this luxury vehicle? Why do I need an iPhone versus an Android or what have you? And the goal of financial wellness isn't about saying what you cannot spend your money on. It's for you to become aware of how you're spending money so you're using your money on the things that matter most to you. So if it is a fancy house, by all means, if that's going to add quality to your life, then you want to allocate your funds to that. But if you realize you want something else, that awareness should say, okay, well, I want to do something completely different. I want you all to envision the life you want to live. Take a moment and ask yourself, what brings happiness into my life? Now, for some of you, if you're having difficulty trying to answer this question, you may be going through a number of things. You may be thinking about how do you send your kids to school? How do you pay your mortgage? Or you need to refinance your vehicle, or your credit score needs to be improved. So ask yourself the second question. If I had no debt or financial obligations, how would you live your life? This whole process is about increasing your awareness, understanding the whys and why you do the things you do. Important for us to make note of that. And why do I always focus on money mindset? So we could sit here for 30, 60 minutes and I can talk to you about a budgeting framework that I created. I could talk to you about how you should invest and the apps you should use. But again, what I've learned through the years is that no amount of seminars, workshops is going to help you achieve what you want to achieve if you don't start up here. If you don't understand the root cause of why you make the financial decisions you make, why you're setting the financial goals that you're setting, and it boils down to how we think and feel about money. The way I grew up, my parents made sure that we had a house, we had a roof over our head, I had food, I had clothing. But I grew up with what's called a scarcity mindset. So I felt that money, there's only a certain amount of money, and I had to work, and I had to continue to exchange my time for a paycheck, similar to what my parents were doing. I need to work more. I didn't understand how you create wealth with making money through money. We need to understand the root cause, as I mentioned, of our savings and our spending habits. Many of us don't save because we keep telling ourselves, I don't have the money to save. Or we spend on things that don't add value to our life. Again, part of that, the focus on awareness. And it's also about personal responsibility. I get a lot of people telling me, and I get into a lot of conversations that say, oh, it's my financial institution. That's the problem. It's the banks, it's the credit unions, it's the credit card companies. But then we need to take charge. We need to be aware that we have control in deciding the financial institutions and deciding which products and services we will use. And again, that is an important part of achieving financial wellness. What's preventing you? Lifestyle inflation. When I was making minimum wage, I was able to pay for the things that I needed to and for the things I wanted. And then I said, if I can make $1 more or $2 more, I can save. But that didn't happen. So when I started making more money, I exchanged my Toyota Camry for a BMW. And then eventually I had 2 cars, a motorcycle. I lived in Palo Alto, California, paying exorbitant amounts of money for rent. I had a closet filled with clothes with their tags still on them. And I had gadgets that I never opened. And so again, I was lacking awareness. So it didn't matter I was making minimum wage or a 6-figure salary. I wasn't making the right financial decisions in order for me to get to where I wanted to go. And so my lifestyle was inflating with the size of my paycheck. So even at 6 figures, I said I didn't have money to save. Keeping up with the Joneses. We all know what that means, right? So we're trying to keep up with our friends, with our neighbors, our family, but we don't know their situation. One thing about keeping with the Joneses is that you're not living your life. If you're too busy trying to keep up with everyone else's, you're living their life, not yours. And it's important for us to be aware of that. Mindless consumption. Again, I'm not opposed to spending, but when we're consuming goods and services that do not add value to our life, it's mindless. It's not contributing to the quality of our life, so it's important for us to understand that. Misunderstanding credit. Credit is not the problem. Credit has been a tool to empower people. It empowered me to go through college. It empowers people to buy cars, to get to and from work, to afford that home. But what happens with credit, it turns into long-term debt. What I realized when I went around the world, the differences between us and many parts of the world was the easy availability to credit. And so because of that easy availability, we've misused it. Instead of using credit to empower us, to improve our lifestyle, to improve the quality of our life, we're using credit for mindless purchases, like what I did with that $5,000 Frisbee. So it's important for us to make note of that. And instant gratification, choosing purchases to make us feel good today, sacrificing our long-term satisfaction. Again, all these pieces is about awareness, getting you to a point to understand what is your money mindset, how do you think and feel about money, and how does that ultimately impact your overall well-being. So what is money to you? Answer this question. Money is a means to an end. Freedom. But what does freedom mean to you? Free to do what you want. Do you know what is it that you want? You don't have to answer.
You asked us
Correct.
before. You said you need to figure out what you want to do, and then, so if you don't have the financial ties, you can do what you want to do. You want to be able to have enough money so you have the freedom to do what you want. And you said you need to know what you want to do. So
Correct.
For me, I want to volunteer somewhere with animals or something. That's my life's goal instead of working. That's what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. You need to envision your dream lifestyle and work backwards. What tends to happen is we start focusing on this first step of setting financial goals and that don't align with what we value. So in that situation, you could set goals of owning a house, buying a new car, taking you further and further away from removing your time that you've allocated to work onto working with animals. So it's important for us. Money is however you choose to define it, and it's important for us to understand this. For me, I would finish this sentence as money is a tool. I used to think money was my end goal. Growing up in Elizabeth, I thought the epitome of success was a six-figure salary. That's what I was going to work towards. And when I got to that point, I didn't find more satisfaction or happiness. I found myself filled with more stuff. So then I realized that money is a tool, that money can empower me to make and achieve my life goals. And some of the things I want to focus on, what's your relationship with money? Money is personal. It's not just about the numbers. When we focus so much on the numbers, we forget that behind those numbers is our hopes and our dreams, our thoughts and our feelings. And that, what we found, resonates. It resonates with me, it resonates with many of the people that I've spoken with, that we must think of money as being personal. Money can buy happiness. And there's this whole thought that money cannot buy happiness, but money can. And how it buys happiness is that it can afford you the roof over your head, the food to eat, health. And it's important for us to understand that when we disregard and say, oh yeah, money isn't important because money can't buy you happiness. Awareness. And some of the wealthiest people I've ever spoken with have said money can buy you happiness, and that's a secret. Money's not the root of all evil as well. We tend to think about, again, this is part of our relationship. When we think money is the root of all evil, guess what? You don't want to create wealth. You don't want to make more money when you think money is evil. Again, challenging your money beliefs. Money is used to buy things and experiences. How many of you go, oh yeah, experiences trump things? I believe that. I live that. Experiences do trump things. But experiences also cost money. And so I can tell you right now, when I was living out in California, driving my BMW with the hood down, the roof down, and the zigzagging, windy like vineyards, that was an experience. So, but there is a price. So it's important for us to understand that between things and experiences, there is money. And money is a tool and not the end goal, as I mentioned. So wealth is not measured by how much you spend, but how much you saved. So if that was the case, if it was about spending, I can tell you right now, I was the richest person in the world. And then I learned, okay, well, wealth is about how much in terms of assets. How much do I have in my savings account? So it's important for us to understand the differences. Spending habits, what we need is actually much less than what we want. Part of that awareness. We tend to think we want a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we don't. We actually want something much more simpler than what we are programmed to believe. Some of my spending rules, a bargain isn't a bargain if you actually do not need it, right? I remember when I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, during a talk, I had someone tell me, Jason, I bought a new John Deere tractor. It was 50% off. It's perfect. I go, oh, that's great. You needed it. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, I have another John Deere tractor, but it's getting old. A year later, when I was doing a second seminar, he tells me, he goes, well, you know that John Deere tractor that I bought at 50% off? I still have both of them. I'm actually quite frustrated that I can't put my car in my garage because both of them take up the space. So understand that a bargain isn't a bargain if you do not need it. Spending rules. We talk about needs and wants. Well, I add love and like. It's very difficult for us to determine what we need versus what we want. Now, I can tell you, I may need a roof over my head, but I may want a bigger home. But when you go through this process there are many things that we like. Just because we like them, we don't necessarily want them. And just because we want them, we don't necessarily need them. But the love factor is what's important. It's aligning all your hard work, the money that you're making, into achieving or buying the things that add value in your life. So for instance, if driving that BMW adds value in your life and something that you love, so that's where you want to allocate your funds. So you go through this whole entire process to improve your spending. Do you want to be that Starbucks loving apartment renter or the Folgers Crystals homeowner? Not saying that keeping you from drinking Starbucks is going to make you a homeowner, but it's part of the awareness of where you're spending your money. I remember the first time I heard this, I was with my Starbucks Frappuccino, and the presenter said this, and I said, well, is this why I'm an apartment renter and not a homeowner? But again, that was the awareness aspect. I learned at that point, I was like, wow, where is my money going? And when you start tackling your spending on the little things, you start thinking about how can I save on the big things? How can I refinance my car so I'm saving money, or refinance my home? So again, it's important for us, and that's part of the awareness aspect. Time is also the most valuable thing that we own. Many of us exchange our time for a paycheck, but we don't understand the correlation of the things that we purchase. So for instance, you have your cell phone. Your cell phone's $800. If you're making $10 per hour, well, guess what? That cell phone represents 80 hours of your life. If you're okay with that, by all means, make that purchase. But begin to correlate your spending. Now, YOLO. You only live once. It's a mantra that my generation started with. It was used as a way to say, okay, well, this is the only life we have to live. I usually heard it around the bar when people are taking shots or mindlessly spending. But YOLO is knowing the value of your time to create experiences. It's YOLO's using knowledge and resources and time to achieve the desired lifestyle in this lifetime. It's for us to understand that if this is the only life we do have to live, or we know we have, let's make sure that we're spending it on building a life that's worth living. So debt, I want to end off with this. Debt is reserving your future time to work rather than fun. If you only live once, why not spend your life doing the things you want to do all the time, as opposed to just on weekends or 2 weeks out of the year? And close off with You Only Live Once, the book that I've written. So part of the success with the road trip, I was offered a book deal by Wiley. Extremely excited about that. The message resonating that we can craft a life of purpose by increasing our understanding of personal finance. And comes out on June 7th. Well, thank you very much. And we'll go into the panel discussion.